Hello everyone, my name is Asmogan and welcome back to the channel. This is Ludus. I'm bringing him on to do a first impressions video for Cyberpunk2077.
Hello.
There he is. Alright.
My mic has issues picking up sometimes. I have no idea why.
Yeah. Alright, so I know you're in a tad bit of a rush, so let's just hop right into like the basics of it. So I'm gonna ask like one like overarching question that's I'm also applying to myself, but I want to hear your thoughts on it first. What's your general experience with the game so far?
Well, now this is actually I'm going to spurge a little bit here. This is kind of funny for me because like out of all the people that I see that have expressed their opinions on it, I think I'm in the minority by saying I really do genuinely enjoy this game. So I said this before we started recording. I haven't had a crash. I haven't had any massive game-breaking bugs. I've had one or two, which is just normally either a floating object or a floating body or shit like that. But I mean, there are games that I play that are 10 years old that still have that, and so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. And just for the record, like, let's also say like how far in the game we are, because this is more of a first impressions, less of a full-blown review, because I don't know if you finished the game.
No.
I haven't finished it either. I'm 20 hours in now. Still haven't finished it. I'm mostly doing open world. I'm doing a lot of open world stuff right now.
Yes, so am I. It says I'm logged at 35 hours, but I think it's actually closer to 20.
Yeah, I'm around 20 or so hours in game now. And to answer the question I posed, my general experience has actually been similar to yours. I'm having a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Like I've seen a lot of people have been really like oh, this game is horrible. Now I get that if you're from a console perspective, 100%. Like let's make that perfectly clear. I know that there might be people who watch this video who will be like, hey, I'm on console. I pre-ordered the game, bought it, and I can't fucking play it. It's just not playing. That is, I agree, unacceptable. That's one thing I will say is a huge problem. But in terms of the game itself and how it plays, on at least on the PC port, which is what we're playing, I've had a ton of fun and no major issues. Nothing that I would call game breaking or nothing that would rob me of the experience. Maybe a couple of like immersions definitely broke a few times, but I'm not that big of a person on like the immersion of the game. Like I like it. I like to be immersed, but at the same time, if it's broken in a funny way, like some of these bugs have been, again, the worst one I had that was not like a funny bug was when there was a character pop in, pop out. Like that's like the worst I've experienced. That I just was a bad bug, but I've had no T-posing. I've had no major graphical bugs where like you can just see their eyes and teeth. Like the only other bug I've encountered that I know is a popular one right now in the game, which is the penis coming out of the pants. I've encountered that. That is hilarious. It makes me laugh every. It's like no dick. My dick cannot be contained by any pants. It's like the schlong of power. It was funny as fuck. I like that. I think that's funny. I really hope they don't fix that.
to kind of jump in on that one, I honestly haven't had a problem with the immersion. In fact, I kind of just rolled with some of the stupid shit that I think doesn't make sense. For instance, I do a lot of the open world stuff too. In fact, one of my favorite things is the assault in progress. I'm like, yes, I'm a mercenary for the police, stopping an assault with cold-blooded murder. This makes sense. And I love it. It's just so out there. I love it.
It is. It's like that. That's how crazy the world is.
Oh yeah, and I will say that it's not just console people that I've seen complain about it. And we have a mutual friend who played it on PC, and they've done nothing but complain about it. And I don't get it. I'm trying not to name drop out of respect.
All right. Just to confirm, because I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you probably do.
Just send it over Discord. Like it's not visible in the stream, so in the video. So just send. Okay. Yeah, that's who I figured. Yeah, they complain about a lot of games though.
I mean that's fair, and everyone is entitled to their opinion.
True, they are entitled to their opinion. We don't necessarily agree. I've been enjoying the heck out of the game so far.
Yeah, and I will say, I don't think Cyberpunk is a perfect game. I really don't.
No,
there are
it's not a
things.
perfect game.
Yeah, there are things that people can complain about, but my philosophy has always been, and I have never been quiet about this one, is just to enjoy a game for what it is. It's one of the reasons why I like Dawn of War 3. You know, that is objectively a mediocre game.
I would say so. Like, I didn't enjoy it. I think the worst part about the game is the name. Like, it shouldn't be a Dawn of War game.
I 100% agree with that. I think if it had not been named Dawn of War 3, it would have had better reception and done a whole lot better.
Oh, definitely.
But that beside the point, just as a baseline RTS, I think it was a decent RTS. So if you just play a game for what it is, and I would say most of the time you know what you enjoy, so most of the time you'll enjoy the games that you play.
Yeah, I'd say that is a portion of the critique of Cyberpunk, is that it wasn't like everything people predicted it to be. Like, I'd say this game is definitely a victim of overhyped.
Oh yeah.
Well, I kept my expectations relatively manageable. This has exceeded my expectations in many ways.
I didn't have any expectations, I'm not gonna lie.
I had some like baseline ones. Basically, my baseline was this better be better than Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, or Human Revolution, because those are like my like first experience with like a more cyberpunk style world.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, yeah, this about is better. It's like those games if they were actually given like the full fleshed out cyberpunk open world experience, is how I would describe Cyberpunk 2077 compared to this.
So what's funny is I have a friend who will never play this game because he doesn't like the Cyberpunk universe because it's a ripoff of Shadowrun. You know what? I get that. That's cool. Fine. That's your opinion. But yeah, I do think it's a damn shame because it's. I mean, like we've said, at least for not a bad game.
No.
It's actually
really not a bad game. Like, it's the acting, the acting of the characters pretty decent. The general graphics on my rig have been pretty solid. Again, with some minor graphical issues even on PC. Yeah, there's been some problems, don't get me wrong. This game needs to be polished and could have used a little bit more time in the oven, but its launch is certainly nowhere, like, some people have seemed to act like this is as bad as, like, Anthem's launch, or as bad as Fallout 76's launch. It seems like people are kind of blowing it out of proportion. Like, don't get me wrong, the console people, they're not. If you're not able to play a game you pre-ordered on launch day, that is a fucking problem. That is a major problem. But from a PC perspective, the game is solid. It's enjoyable. I've only had one crash. Now I know a lot of people are like, oh, if the game crashes, that's an instant like low score. It's like, yeah, but to be fair, it crashed after I intentionally turned the graphics all the way the max up and was in the middle of doing a very explosive action. So I shoved it in. I made the game go through its paces, and I almost intentionally caused it to crash.
Yeah.
So that's not the game's fault. I lowered the graphics immediately, and I have not had anywhere. The crash wasn't even a hard crash. It was the game just shut down. That was it. It wasn't like my PC turned off or anything. it was just the game. And the game's auto saves pretty damn regularly, so even if it does crash, you don't lose much progress. No. Yeah, you don't really. You don't have to backtrack all that much.
And one thing that I kind of enjoy about it is the fact that. So I checked out the specs for it before it released, and according to the specs, my graphics card should only be able to handle the low setting. I mean, it's right between the low and mid, so low would be the safe bet. I run it on, I believe, medium or medium to high settings.
I run it on ultra.
Fine.
Yeah, I run it on ultra.
Not run it on ultra.
My rig is pretty good. My rig is not like top of the line market right now. Yeah. Like my graphics card's a 2080 Super, so it's now previous gen graphics cards now since they're in the 30 series.
I'll tell you what mine is. You gotta give me a second.
Alright, but yeah, with my rig, which I would say is definitely an above average rig, I've been playing on ultra, no crashes. The only time it crashes when I had ray tracing on at max, ultra ray tracing on is when it finally crashed. So when I was doing that benchmark, it crashed, but everything so far on ultra never had a crash, never had a major issue. And the AI seemed pretty solid. And again, I've been enjoying the open world. My only complaint about the open world is the fucking driving.
Oh, I hate the driving.
I hate the driving because the thing is, even if you're, I wouldn't say it's designed for a controller, but for the sharper turn,
for a controller.
The driving's more for a controller because if you're using a keyboard, you have to do those sharp jabs to turn stuff, and because of that, you're crashing a lot more. And the fucking streets are so damn narrow.
Yeah,
like, a good chunk of the city has got that's like my biggest like game design complaint is the streets are very narrow.
I will say one of to kind of say the opposite of that, one of my favorite mechanics things that actually I didn't know off the top right off the bat was the crafting system. You could upgrade your weapons, like level up your own weapons, and I thought that was fucking cool.
Yeah, I love that. I've been upgrading my katana every time I have the components.
Oh no, I use snipers.
Well, my current loadout is I'm running a katana / mantis blade build, so it's mostly reflex stat allocation in the perk tree.
Yeah.
But I do also have a sniper and a pistol as part of the build. Those are for like the ranged combat. But if I'm getting up close, I'm not using a shotgun. I'm using my sword.
So my three are the pre-order katana, an assault rifle, and a sniper rifle. And yeah, I rarely use that assault rifle. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, the assault rifles and SMGs are not as fun because I don't know if it's like the recoil or just the specific. The thing is, there are plenty of different types of both. The game has so far a pretty wide variety of guns, not like Borderlands level. Like there's definitely some repeats more often for certain types, but there's been more variety than I was expecting. I was expecting like maybe 3 different types of assault rifles, 3 different SMGs, 2 different sniper rifles, things like that. But I've seen like 6 different SMGs so far, 6 or 7.
I've seen like 4. I don't remember it right. By the way, my graphics card is a 1060.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I ran 1060 for the longest time.
I mean, it works. So.
It's not a bad graphics card. I don't think it's bad at all. But yeah, I've had very, very few issues with the game so far, and I've been enjoying it quite a bit. And and as I said, like for anybody watching this video, we haven't finished the game, so we're not talking from an end game perspective. We are talking from, technically speaking, an early game perspective, early mid game experience. We made it past the first Act 1, I think both of us.
No, I have not. I'm
really?
At the heist. I'm still at the heist.
Oh, you're still at the heist.
Yeah, so here's what happened to me. I was running a nomad character, and I was running a corpo as kind of like my secondary. Hey, do I feel like I missed anything? If so, I'll go with corpo. And somehow either I overwrote the save for my nomad, or I just deleted it accidentally, and I had to go back and redo about 2 hours worth of gameplay.
Okay.
So now I'm building up another nomad because actually I like the nomad.
I've actually been running all 3 because I wanted to see how they played different from like the different backgrounds. What I will say from having a character in each of the lifestyles, from nomad to corpo to street, they don't affect your gameplay too much. So far, it's mostly dialogue options, and even
those dialogue options can matter, though. I will say
they can to a degree. I've had no major ones between the 3. I'd say that maybe it'll become more effective mid-act 2, maybe act 3. But so far, the background choice doesn't seem too important. It seems like it definitely does change how your character interacts with others, and like the options of information your character already knows and is therefore able to affect conversation. But it doesn't seem like it's integral to anything. Like there's no major bonus. So I'd say, depending on your perspective, that could be a negative or a positive. Because on one end, you could say it's positive because it means your options, you can play any of them with minimal risk to like basically what's the term, restricting your character to a specific way of playing it. So,
Right.
you know, that your choice will be that integral. But some people want the background choice to be that in a way, like that integral. I personally, I like that it's more like it's basically a dialogue tree changer to a degree. Like I like that more so because that way you could play any of the backgrounds and it won't rob you of anything. At the same time, though, I definitely understand the argument though that affects replayability because it means like there's less reason to play the game 3 times over if the impact it has on the experience is so minimal. So I see both sides of the argument. I'd say I like it more so that it affects your overall experience less, but that's so far with my own playthrough. It might, and the thing is I might be wrong. It might be way more integral the further in the story you get, but so far it doesn't seem like it's that integral of a choice you have to make.
I noticed specifically for the heist mission, there were a couple, or for the heist and for your first brain dance, there were a couple options where Corpo got some special dialogue, and it just seemed to just blab right past, like, here's a logical argument, here's an illogical argument, and here's the Corpo just being an asshole. Let's go with the Corpo one. And it just like blows right past any kind of logic. It's kind of funny and cool, but it kind of like it's not the same thing, but it kind of reminds me of back in older games where like certain classes could say certain things and it would be effective at certain points of the story. If I remember right, Baldur's Gate had an instance where I believe if you were like a rogue or a magic user, you could say, you know, hey, because of my arcana or because, you know, I'm a thief, you know, I can say this and it'll completely negate what the other points are because I can just do this. And that's what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on like the backgrounds and how they affect the game. And yeah. So I know you don't have too much more time, so I do want to.
15 minutes.
Yeah, I don't want to leave you like at the dot though.
Oh no, that won't leave me at the dot.
Okay, so that's like that would be the dot if we kept going after that. Okay.
If I kept going after that, that would be starting to push on the dot. Yeah.
Okay. So let's just go through these the next like preset questions we wrote up.
Okay.
What about thoughts on mechanics?
The mechanics, they make sense for the game, and I like them, but I think if they put, so for instance, one thing that I'm specifically talking about, and this is different, a good example of this is the Mass Effect series. If I remember right, I believe it's in either 2 or 3 where you lose your scope sway with sniper rifles. In Mass Effect 1, you had sway. And it would reduce the sway depending on how high your sniper rifle skill is. Well, in Cyberpunk, you do have a sway, and I kind of enjoy that. And I feel like if you didn't have that, that would just take away from it. But that's a minor thing. So I feel like, as far as the mechanics, they paid some attention to small details. And I haven't really came to anything big that's kind of made me question it either.
Yeah. I'd say when it comes to general mechanics of the game, there's a lot of different mechanics, which I like because it gives you options. In terms of like, you know, there's the in terms of the more minute mechanics like you were talking about with like the sway of the guns, the gun animations, I think that's one thing. Different guns also, there's different types of weapons. There's weapons that actually have a focus on like their ricochet ability. Like if you hit, you can shoot off another object and hit your target. Like there's the weapons like that. There's smart guns which have like a special aiming option. There's different types of weapons in the game just amongst the guns. Then you have different like melee options. And then obviously you have the cybernetic augmentations, which I haven't got the mantis blades yet. Oh, I'm fighting to get those. But when I get them, I'm eager to see if they will completely replace my katana in terms of like using them in direct combat, or if I will still end up using them katana most of the time, and the mantis blades will be like a special attack. I don't know how they function separately, and I don't want to spoil myself by looking it up. But I'm curious to see how that will function, and also we talk about the crafting mechanics. Like you can craft items in the game, and the more you craft, the more you level up your ability to craft, as well as upgrade those are two integral parts of it that I think most people will initially not realize how good it is. Like I think you know, one of the greatest disservices you can do to yourself is if you just sell all your guns once you get them in the game. I think a lot of people should, you know, if you get into a firefight and you collect all the guys you kill's guns and stuff, I'd say if you don't want them, disassemble them. Because you're going to get components, you're going to get, well, again, just components. But those components are going to be really good to upgrade the gear that you do like that you currently have. So if you have a sniper rifle you really like, but you don't want to trade it out because there's another gun that has better attack damage after a while, just upgrade it. Same with your katana, same with your pistol. You know, and you can also upgrade your armor, your quote-unquote armor. It's weird to me that the gear, that's one thing I will say that I find kind of funny, is the clothes. They have armor stats.
I think it was my second stream of Cyberpunk. I found some Daisy Dukes that had more armor than my pants, and I was questioning it.
It's so hilarious.
And I was sitting here like,
currently on my corpo character, right? I have a pair of booty shorts.
Yeah.
A pair of booty shorts on my corporal character that have better armor than like fucking like cargo pants. I'm like, are you shitting me? It's hilarious. But yeah, the clothes are not just a cosmetic. It's kind of a standard RPG in that affair, because you have shitty looking clothes on your character, but you wear them because the stats are good.
I'm waiting for the Transmog mechanic to come out.
Oh god, is that actually an announced thing? Because I really hope.
No, it's not, but I hope it fucking happens.
Ew, yes.
Because I don't want to have the max level character.
You can't. You max level character, but he looks so fabulous.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like booty shorts, like really weird looking glasses, a fez hat, and fucking high heels, and you got like 6,000 armor.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this makes sense.
Actually, I was kind of sad. There's an ability you can get like right at the very beginning of the game. I believe it's a body that gives you like 50 points of armor. And I was like, when I first found that out, because I focused mostly on reflexes and crafting.
Yeah, same.
So when I found that out and started looking around at the others, I saw that and I doubled my armor value just by getting that. I'm like, that makes me sad as shit.
I know, right? It's just so weird. But that's like the one other thing I'd question. But at the same time, like, you make the argument like, oh, the fabric of this particular clothing is made with like maybe more Kevlar mixed in or something like that. I don't know what the excuse is, but it's so weird to see booty shorts have more armor than like padded cargo pants.
It's anime bikini armor.
Exactly. Same Jesus. Oh yeah, but that's like one silly thing I see in some of the mechanics. But yeah, I generally enjoy the general mechanics of the game. It's got it doesn't have like your stereotypical RPG like stat allocation and perks and stuff like that. It's definitely the perks are definitely perks. Like it's just like a certain percentage upgrade of this particular stat. But there's definitely encouragement to building specific character styles, and I have no doubt we're gonna see a slew of, especially when the game gets more refined for all the consoles and stuff that it's on, and more people actually get to play the game they paid for. The more we get through that stuff, we're gonna see a lot more people probably putting up build videos for different types of characters you can make. More like, hey, how to make money this fast, or we're gonna see more videos. We're already getting some of those videos. I've seen a couple of them. But yeah,
and I'll do this. You're dead on, because what I always do is, so my character's carry weight I think is like 312. And what I'll do is I'll get it up to around like 280, 300, scrap everything I can, do it again. After like 4 trips, the shit I can't scrap, I will sell. Because there's like consumables you can't scrap, and grenades. And I'll just sell those. And honestly, I make less money after like 3 rounds of scrapping shit and selling what I can't scrap than I will just from doing like 1 or maybe even 2 assaults in progress or the mafia thing, whatever the hell it is, where you got to go and like kill one specific person behind a wall, behind a meat shield of like 5 other people.
Yeah, I've had to do that. I'll do a couple of those so far.
But I do appreciate that because, like I was saying, you know, I would, because you make more money that way, but with the crafting part and breaking everything down, you get the components you need, so those balance out. And I do appreciate that.
And the components, by the way, if you've upgraded an item to the point where, you know, you don't need a specific type of component, or you have an abundance of a component, I found that I found this just by screwing around with some things. Did you know that if you buy like those 1080 cans of soda and stuff like that, if you buy that stuff,
you can break them down.
You can break them down into components, and the components sell for more.
That doesn't shock me.
Well, I think the green common components are worth 8 eddies, but if you break down one can, it's 3 different components, so it's 8 times 3.
Yeah.
So if you do the math, you can make more money from one can of soda if you buy it, break it down, and then sell it the equivalent of its components.
Well, let me correct one thing. That's normally it would be 2, but if you get the first perk in crafting, or one of the first 3 perks in crafting, where you get more components.
Well, yeah, I'd say that's definitely something to allocate into if you're going to use that mechanic, because you can make some decent amount of eddies just by fucking around with that. I've actually made 2,000 something just from fucking around with it. I'm not actually taking it seriously. I can say a hardcore meta gamer could probably like tank this shit, but
easily.
But I've made like 2,500 plus eddies, and that's not that's including the cost of like me having to spend the eddies to buy the cans from the vending machines. Once you buy those cans, break them down, and sell the components, I still made, by the end of the calculation or so, like 2,500 eddies. So, yeah, that's that. I hope to God they never patch that out, because I like little, like, not cheats. I wouldn't even call that a cheat. I'd say that that's a mechanic in the game. So I'd say, like, I hope they leave that in. That's all I'm saying.
So for me, as far as, like, the crafting and stuff, the only thing that it's not really a complaint, is that, and I'm metagaming the fuck out of this. So, before I
exploits, by the way, that was the word I was thinking
of. Before I noticed it, I tended to just like switch out weapons. Now I do, like you said, just upgrade the weapon. But now the very first thing I do you remember where you go to the Ripper Doctor at the very beginning?
Yeah, Victor?
Yeah, I make sure I always have like 25,000 eddies before I go talk to him. I just do open world shit until I get 25,000, and I'll pay him right there, and then I end up getting like 2 or 3 more cybernetics.
What I've done is I don't do that. I don't get like all the money first. I still go see him pretty early on, and then after I get those augs that he gives us, I then go grind and then make sure to pay him back immediately. Like that's like the first thing I do is pay him, and on all 3 playthroughs so far, the Nomad, Street, and Corpo. On all 3, I've paid him back. Like the very first thing I set out to do after I left was not do the main story missions, but immediately go grind open world and then pay him back immediately. I haven't done the pay him beforehand. Like I'm curious how that plays different.
Really?
It doesn't really play all that different?
Not really.
Okay. Well.
But I will say something that would be cool is if they adapt something similar. In the closest example of this, it's like the World of Warcraft racial traits. For, like, Nomad could get, like, when they scout, or when they, deconstruct something, they either get more components, or they're more likely to find junk in containers, or something like that.
Yeah, and Corpo could have, like, a boost to, like, perks in the intelligent,
I was gonna say Corpo gets more money from selling shit.
I could see that too. I was thinking more like just like at the stat tree. I could see like a boost in like maybe intellect, intellect, or.
I wouldn't really do a. I wouldn't really fuck around with the stats. I mean, if I did, something that I did find that made me sad for like 30 seconds was I can bring the intelligence down to 1. Because I believe playing a drooling character would be hilarious. The dialogue alone would be fucking worth it. Okay, we're gonna have to pull the naked lady out to naked lady. Don't drool on her open wounds, naked lady. Stop. You know what? I'm gonna handle it. Okay, Techie.
I would say
much better.
I would have liked to see that. That would have been nice.
It's horrible to joke about, but it would have been funny.
It definitely would have added replayability. I would have played a dumbass playthrough. Yeah. One thing I don't know if you noticed this too. It's probably like my last thing I want to talk about. Since I know, again, I think we're kind of getting close to that 30 minutes. But I think the thing that I was most disappointed, like just on like a subtle detail thing that I would have wished was there, that I've had time to think about, is no matter what, if you have, like, for example, all my characters are all male. Well, male voice anyway. I have all of them male, and they all talk the same no matter what background. Again, there's still, like, I could kind of get the nomads in the street kind of sounding the same, but even if you choose Corpo, he still talks that same way. And it's not just, like, the voice. It's, like, the inflections, the way he converses.
And
it sounds the same.
I can tell you why. And I hate this, but I can justify why. Is because, and this was where I was going to, and I was going to say this right after the low intelligence thing. Voice acting a game that big is expensive.
Yeah.
So I can't really fault them for that one.
I can't really fault them, no. But at the same time, it would have been so much better if there was like that subtle personality change. Like, instead of talking like punkish in all three, he sounds like a punk as a street kid. Obviously, that makes sense. As a nomad, maybe sounds a little bit more reserved, a little bit
or a loner.
Yeah, like more quiet, less like rambunctious.
Yeah.
And for Corpo, more refined, more like careful of his words, probably using bigger words. I would have liked to see that subtle, those subtle details. I think it would have added so much to like the subtle immersion.
And I think that's where the dialogue choices come in, because that was the way they kind of put it in there. But at the same time, it's just it's not really it's not the same thing as like full on dialogue for each of the choices.
Yeah, but I understand the reasoning, and I don't think it like takes away from the experience I've had so far. It would have just been like that one like extra mile I would have liked to see taken. But who knows? You know, maybe they can do that later. If they, I don't know. I know that CD Projekt Red have already made their money back and then some. So hopefully they'll do what we saw with No Man's Sky, and the devs will put full effort into refining the experience. I mean, yeah, it's kind of shitty that they have to do it now that it's already out, but I'd rather see them fix the game than leave it in its current state. Again, on PC, it's not a horrible experience. I'd say so far, not talking late game, it's this easy 7.5, 8 out of 10 for me.
Oh, I can easily agree. I was going to say about 8.
Yeah. So,
but again, this is the difference between having some expectations and having no expectations.
True. I'm sure the people who had the highest expectations probably have like the worst opinion of it right now.
Oh yeah.
I think if you were more like myself, who had some expectations but was fairly reserved with them and understood that this was a big, hill, like mountain to climb, especially since CD Projekt had the only games I know for a fact that they've done before this were fantasy.
And I will end on this now because I really do have to go soon.
Yeah.
Like you said, people with the highest expectations probably have the most criticism. Well, think about this. It was in development for 8 years. How many staff changes happened in those 8 years? How many times was the project started and stopped in 8 years? How many times was there a massive directive change in those 8 years? Think about that, because I don't think it's really fair to say that, the Cyberpunk 2077 that came out is the Cyberpunk 2077 they were planning 8 years ago. I don't believe that for a fucking second.
Nope, I don't believe
it. So in this case, a little bit of patience, because they probably went through numerous direction changes. Probably went through numerous director changes. So
I will say this: I have no doubt in my mind that this project stopped and started several times.
And
absolutely. Restarted. That there's no way, because the thing is, if this is the one game they've been working on for 8 years straight, and they haven't done any restarts, I don't believe that for a second. Because the game, even on PC, still has minor issues. minor bugs. Now, they're not a huge deal, but that is reflective of that they were crunching. And that is reflective that...
I'd say probably about a good 3 or 4 years in like this instance.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that it's a high ball because the details that are in there that they do right had to have taken a long time to get right.
Yeah. So I'd say there's definitely proof that they restarted, or at the very least they had a spot where they probably had a huge issue, and then they had to like refocus the entire game. At some points, there's proof of that just in like the issues on release. But at the only other thing I will like really dock, I won't dock the game for this, but I really do want to dock CD Projekt Red for this, is the review barring they did. That was bullshit, and I lost a little bit of respect for CD Projekt Red for that one, I will say. When they used to let reviewers show their own footage and do proper reviews before the game came out, I thought that was kind of shady.
I think it was shady. I understood it to a point because they wanted to give everyone a fair shot, but in the end, it really didn't work that way, and I don't think that was them intentionally doing that.
I don't know. To me, it comes off as some shady marketing, but I don't know. Maybe a devil's advocacy. Maybe they maybe they thought those reviewers had a particularly bad time, and they were hoping that widely those experiences wouldn't be representative of everyone's. But that's devil advocacy for me. And hiding reviews over using an embargo, I don't know. That was shady. But anyway, I know you gotta go, so thank you for sharing your first impressions. And,
no worries.
Yeah, I hope everybody who watches this video understands where we're coming from. I no doubt there's going to be probably a large number of arguments in the comment section of people who hate the game because they got the console one and can't even play it, or hate the game even if they got the PC one because it didn't live up to their expectations, or they just hate the game because it just isn't their thing. There are going to be people who hate the game no matter what, and then there are going to be people who, like myself, who did enjoy it, and you know, I enjoyed it. I'm not saying that's going to be reflective of everyone's experience. But for what I was expecting, for what I was planning on doing when I got into the game, I've had a lot of fun so far. Yeah, that's my experience.
And probably an idea, and we can talk about this later, is maybe about a week or two after it's had time to collect some comments, just do a follow-up video based on what the comments were, if people had questions for us, or if they had comments, or just stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to do some responses to those. But anyway, yep, that's all I have to say. You all good?
Yeah, I'm good. I really do have to go. I'm sorry.
All right, have a good one, man. Have a great night at work.
You too, man.